Russia prepares to make a difficult, or let's be honest, lose-lose decision about Bakhmut, which also potentially involves surrendering the south of Ukraine. This is just mind-blowing. And even though the Russians themselves, they characterize the situation in Bakhmut as alarming, they still prefer to completely change their tactics. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And if you're watching this from America, happy 4th of July. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. So, yeah, today we have this Russian soldier with an extremely questionable tattoo. On the one side this is most likely his face, and on the other side it's the face of the wolf. So he is saying like, I'm a dangerous person, don't play around with me, I can bite. And if any of you is a tattoo master, please rate these skills of this picture on his shoulder down below in the comments. And for the rest of you guys, so you can also participate, how much do you think was this tattoo? 50 rubles, 100 rubles, 500 rubles, or maybe, judging by its quality, was it completely for free? So yes, let me know in the comments your best guesses. And speaking about free stuff, this Saturday I will be giving away my old microphone, which is still working, yes, and I used it to record more than 600 videos. There will be a total of 5 prizes, and if you want to know what are the rest for, please make sure to check my Instagram. And in order to enter this giveaway, all you need to do is to simply like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please make sure to follow me on Instagram and read my most recent post, because this is where the details of the giveaway are. The link to my Instagram is down below. Right, and now let's go to the south of Ukraine and talk about the potential escalation on Zaporizhia Nuclear Power Plant. Then we're gonna switch our attention to the east, the alarming situation in Bakhmut, and that Russians are about to make a lose-lose decision about this city. But first of all, right here is unfortunately a video from Kherson, where yet another Russian attack devastated a residential building. Next we move a little bit closer to the east to Zaporizhia Nuclear Power Plant, where allegedly, according to yet unconfirmed information by Ukrainian intelligence, Russians might do an escalation in one form or another on this Zaporizhia Nuclear Power Plant. Because if you remember from my previous videos, Russians ordered everyone to evacuate from the territory of this plant by July 5th, which is already tomorrow. And then, also several days ago, Ukrainian authorities mentioned that Russians installed some mines next to water reservoirs in order to cause at least a partial meltdown. So let's see what will happen with the station this night. Next we move to Zaporizhia front line, where according to Ukrainians fighting in this region, they're able to destroy a Russian firing position along with the multiple launch rocket system located in Ilchenkovе. And then yet another air defense system of Russians called Tor M2 has been destroyed along Zaporizhia front lines as well. And just overall, according to a Ukrainian commander in the south, Alexander Tarnavsky, Ukrainians were able to destroy 36 pieces of military equipment of Russians and also eliminate and wound as many as 3 entire companies of Russians. And just overall, Ukrainians were able to advance a total combined 2 kilometers deeper inside the Russian front lines in the south. But still, anyways, according to Anna Malyar, she says that a lot of activity from the front lines is still being underreported because of this requested operational silence from the General Staff of Ukraine. Alright, and now as promised, let's go to the east, but first of all we just have to make a stop in Moscow, where this night and early morning a total of 5 unidentified drones have been intercepted. The Russian authorities said that there were no damages at all these drones were eliminated, and some of them fell in extremely close proximity to one of Russian major airports called Vnukovo. But then, as we go back across the border, unfortunately there has been yet another loud noise in Ukrainian city called Kharkiv, where as a result of this, a major destruction occurred in the residential area. Unfortunately, there are wounded, injured and casualties. Moving closer to the borders between Russia and Ukraine, a Turkish armored personnel carrier called Otokar Cobra 2 has been spotted riding in Vovchansk. And then, going to already actual front lines in the east, right here we have a video of Ukrainians using just a simple drone to destroy one of Russian modern battle tanks. To be honest, this is the most mind-blowing thing for me. How can you use a, I don't know, $500 piece of an equipment to destroy something worth several millions of dollars? The entire video, unfortunately I cannot show you the consequences, will be available on my Patreon. The link is down below. And speaking about the drones versus tanks, for some completely unknown reason, Russians, instead of towing away their injured tanks and repairing them, they decided to just destroy them completely, using their own drones. This is like... I don't even know what kind of strategy it is, but what makes it even more ridiculous is that they attempted to destroy their own tank, probably so Ukrainians cannot have it, but they looks like failed, because this video from a Ukrainian soldier, he shows that the tank inside is pretty much still intact. And I mean, honestly, the most logical thing to do whenever you're extremely short on military vehicles will be try to save every single one of them, to repair them and bring them back to the front lines. Something what, I mean, everyone does, including obviously Ukrainians. Whenever the Western military machines, such as for example Bradley, is partially destroyed, they still tow it away behind the front lines, repair it and bring it back. But let's leave this extremely questionable military tactics to Russians, because, I mean, do not interrupt your enemy whenever he's making mistakes, right? Because then we'd have this yet another video of Ukrainians, very professional soldiers to be honest. They are assaulting the positions of Russians and their trenches, they take prisoners, and throughout the video a very... don't know, disturbing moment happens when a Russian soldier takes a grenade, and probably you can guess what's happening next. Something that definitely is not allowed on YouTube. The entire version is on my Patreon, the link is down below, there's still 1 week of free access. But okay, now just literally a couple of last words from the east, and then we'll talk about this lose-lose decision that Russians are about to make regarding Bakhmut. And so first of all, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, both Russians and Ukrainians are engaged in combat activities along Svatove Kreminna and to the south of Kreminna, with no sides succeeding at this moment. And then Russians and Ukrainians are also fighting in extremely complicated fights, to be honest, around Bakhmut, with Ukrainians being a little bit more successful. And even the Russian propagandists themselves, they claim that the situation right now in Bakhmut for their own forces is alarming. Then we have already familiar Anna Malyar. She also says that the situation in Bakhmut is extremely difficult right now, with both sides seizing the advantage pretty much every hour or so, but just in general, Ukrainians are being a little bit more successful, as they're able to advance closer to Bakhmut through its flanks, to the north and to the south. And just overall, in the last 24 hours alone, Ukrainians were able to in the last 24 hours alone, Ukrainians were able to destroy 14 concentration of Russian forces and their military equipment, and also 5 artillery units. Right, and now let's get back to Bakhmut and talk this about a very questionable decision, and soon you will see why. In the meantime, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this style of daily updating. So yes, according to the article by the Institute for the Study of War, the Russian military commandment is facing a very difficult, tough, or in my opinion, a lose-lose decision that they're about to make in Bakhmut. And what they mean by that is that Russians might start withdrawing some or even the majority of their forces from the south in order to increase the protection around Bakhmut, and this will obviously create so many vulnerabilities in the defenses of Russians in the south, specifically in Kherson region and in some places in Zaporizhia. Because as of right now, even according to the Russian military commandment, the current existing forces trying to protect Bakhmut are insufficient. And that is why, once again, if Russians decide to send reinforcements all the way from the south to the east of Ukraine, and if they fail in this strategy as well, they're risking to lose in 2 front lines at the same time. For this reason, and it is also indirectly confirmed by the British intelligence report, Russians are switching their military tactics and are starting to plant heavily mines along the front lines, specifically in the south, potentially once again preparing for this retreat. And according to the report, the biggest hopes of Russians is that these minefields will slow down the Ukrainian counteroffensive. So Russians are basically switching to a full defense mode right now, so I do not think that we will see any major advancements by them in the near future, or I mean, it was not too many major success in the past anyways as well. But what makes it different this time is that Russians right now want to leave the south almost completely unprotected, exactly the area where Ukrainians are planning to push the hardest. And all this is just to protect some areas in the east of Ukraine, specifically Bakhmut, which they've spent so much time, effort, and even human lives just to capture it. The Russian authorities also tried so hard to sell this victory in Bakhmut to the Russian population, though no one bought it. That is why giving it up so easy will be not an option for them. But the number of Russian forces is obviously finite, and their military tactics, to say the least, are very questionable. And as soon as Ukrainians are able to successfully initiate a major counteroffensive and liberate big territories in the south, this is when the morale of remaining Russian soldiers, including the ones in the east, will be crushed even more. Because they know that as soon as Ukrainians will be able to liberate the south, the only direction left for them to go will be to the east of Ukraine. And this will be almost the entire army of Ukraine concentrating their attacks in one specific area at a time, and this will be the soldiers with the high morale spirits right after liberating big territories in the past. For this reason, it is my understanding that right now this house of cards is already almost being built, and as soon as one card is out of its place, the entire construction, which is the Russian defensives, will start falling apart fast and rapidly. And so we might see some major liberation happening just within 1 week. If you don't want to miss it, just please subscribe to my channel, only takes one click. Don't forget about the Russian Dude signed microphone giveaway, please follow me on Instagram. The best way to support my work is through my Patreon. You can also become my channel member or simply use a PayPal link. Everything can be found to the right and down below. Thank you so much for your attention, товарищи. Beware, there are scammers in the comments, and see you tomorrow.